Episode 56, and after a week off, Joe, we have hit the month of August. We got Sara Perlman on the pod this week, a good friend of ours we met at NBC Sports Washington. Nice enough to talk to her. Talked a little baseball, a little all-star game, football, some soccer, a little bit of everything, some basketball as well. That interview with Sara Perlman of the NBC Sports Edge betting show coming up next. Pleased to welcome this week host of NBC Sports Edge betting show, Sara Perlman. Sara, it's nice to see you again. How's everything going?
Hey, PJ, everything's great. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be on your guys' podcast.
Now, you work for NBC now. They're obviously carrying the Olympics. I'm sure you've been watching a bunch of that. Is there a moment so far that stood out for you that has been your favorite so far?
It's been tough. I think for me, seeing Caleb Dressel win gold, set a world record was really special. I went to Florida, as did he, but just seeing his reaction was pretty priceless. I think about the fact that these athletes trained. COVID obviously postponed the Olympics. They have to reset their bodies and their training mentality. And to see Caleb Dressel win gold for me was probably the most special. As I kind of said, his emotions were out of control. I was tearing up, seriously.
Yeah, he won 5 golds. It kind of flew under the radar how well he did. Now, the Olympics is great because we get to watch all these obscure sports that we only get to see every 4 years. So what is your favorite of like the obscure sports, would you say?
You know, I haven't watched too many obscure. I will say I dabbled in handball and I watched
handball.
A lot of
so much
tennis.
fun.
Yes, handball is fun, and table tennis, like sneaky good.
It's intense.
Watching the highlights after were really fun.
That's good.
Do you ever bet against Team USA anything? Because obviously there's the betting aspect of it with the show, and obviously we all love to bet. Or is it just too tough rooting against an American at that stage?
I'll say this, it's way easier rooting for America when I bet on USA, but my co-host Drew handicaps the Olympics. He's awesome at handicapping swimming, and he told me take Great Britain for the relay. They came home. So I will say that was the one time, but it is really tough to go against USA.
Yeah, it's like me. I mean, there are plenty of times during the year when I can make a lot of money betting against the Jets or betting against the Mets or the Rangers, but like
you can make a lot of money betting against the Jets.
Yeah, so there's not many lines I draw when it comes to betting against my team. So it is what it is. Moving on to baseball, we had probably the craziest trade deadline ever. Obviously, you used to work in the DC area. Your thoughts on the Nats trading Turner and Scherzer to LA and what it all meant, not just that trade, but all the trades for the futures betting landscape?
I think there's a few things that stood out for me. First and foremost, yes, the Dodgers made a heck of a ton of good moves. I think them getting Max Scherzer was the biggest, obviously, because given the Trevor Bauer situation, they needed another starting pitcher and someone that's not only familiar with the NL, but familiar with winning a World Series and dominant in the postseason. So I think the Dodgers did absolutely outstanding job, especially on the Nats side too. Got a lot of good prospects. And I think about Trey Turner, who was not going to accept that extension. It made a lot of sense moving him as well. I think for me, the Dodgers were the favorite. I personally have not bet on them to win the World Series nor the National League at this point, but a ton of good moves. But it was a wild trade deadline. At first, when I thought Max Scherzer was going to the Padres and a few rumors started speculating, I was thrilled. The Padres are a team that it's really hard not to like. And it seems like before, especially the Tatis injury, they were also really equipped to win. But I think the Dodgers came out on top. A few surprising things, I guess I'll say, were the moves that the Yankees made. I think they made a lot of good moves, I guess, for their future. This year is going to be so tough, though, with the Rays and the Red Sox and even the Toronto Blue Jays. I was a little confused by some of the big, home run hitters they acquired in both Anthony Rizzo and Joey Gallo. So those were a few that kind of stood out to me that I wasn't as high on, just because you're in a really competitive division that I thought kind of got away from the Yankees, but maybe they will prove me wrong here. I think they just are on a 9 out of 10 games wins now. So the final one is the Boston Red Sox stood out to me, not because the trades they made, although I think them getting a left-handed hitter was solid. Chris Sale's coming back. So this is a team that I've been high on for a long time. And as you guys probably know, I followed the AL East way too closely. So for many reasons, I think the Red Sox are one that stood out to me, just in terms of they got a little bit better, but having Chris Sale internally coming back is huge.
And now you mentioned you're not personally betting on the NL for the World Series. And I think to the AL, you've got the White Sox running away with their division. We've got the Red Sox in a good position, like you said. We've got the Astros, who are doing it without the cheating, we think, at least at this point. Who from the AL does stand out to you then as a legit contender there?
Well, I will say I'm betting on the National League. It's just I didn't bet on the Los Angeles Dodgers yet.
I'm sorry.
Prices are so short.
Gotcha.
But I like the Padres. But now I'm gonna have to reassess as we get down the stretch. The White Sox, that's a team I have a future on. I do love this White Sox team. And to your point, they are wrapping up this division. I think ultimately they're going to have a real shot at winning the AL. The Red Sox are a team, though, that I would not be surprised to see make it down the stretch. They've had a lot of comeback wins. It'll come down to them and the Rays, of course, for many reasons. But I love the White Sox and I love the Red Sox. So I will just say the Sox teams. But a team in the National League that I wish I bought in earlier. And if you guys have tickets, congratulations. It'd be the San Francisco Giants. They have been sneaky solid all season. And I guess we didn't really talk about them getting Chris Bryant, which was huge, and acquiring him at the deadline. So that's a team I think could really make it out of the NL. And if you had 100-1 ticket for them on the World Series or 40-1 to win the NL, call me because I'd like to make some prop swap action.
For all the talk of the Padres and the Dodgers, it's ridiculous seeing what the Giants have been able to do in that division.
Insane.
Now, Sarah, we know that Scherzer and Turner went DC to LA, but Russell Westbrook also went DC to LA. Which one of those trades, when you got the notification, would you say took you more by surprise?
Oh, honestly, it was the baseball trade. I felt like the Lakers and LeBron had their eye on him for too long. I don't know if it made them that much better. Really kind of stars and scrubs lineup with so much money in there, but yeah, I think the baseball Scherzer Turner trade surprised me the most because I felt like after Space Jam and all that rumors were speculating and all of a sudden, whatever, join the Lakers, have fun. Congrats to Cowboys fans.
Cowboys fans, Alabama fans.
Fans. Yeah.
Good to be you. Whatever.
Before we get into the rapid fire segment we do and the trivia question that we have for all our guests, we got to ask you about All-Star Weekend and the Home Run Derby. Obviously, your boyfriend Trey Mancini put on quite the show, and I'm curious just what were the emotions going into that week for you, for him, given the last 16 months and everything just kind of all kind of culminating in that event?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Honestly, super emotional. I've been to the Home Run Derby in DC when Nats Park had it for work before. Obviously, way more, emotionally invested in this one, having Trey in it. Really crazy week leading up to it. Just a lot of emotions, kind of thinking full circle. Our story is very public about Trey being diagnosed with cancer. So a year ago, we were in a much more different situation than we were this year at the Home Run Derby. So we both were pretty much crying and kind of excited of jitters leading up to it. Just almost shock. Not because he didn't deserve it, just because it was so many emotions. But we got out there and Denver's awesome. Coors Field's one of my favorite fields in the planet. And it was crazy because it was a full atmosphere. Since COVID, we haven't had a jam-packed sporting event like that in so long. And the Home Run Derby is fun. And you're at Coors Field, altitude, balls are flying. It was electric is the best way to put it. So honestly, I told everyone that was hands down the best sporting event I have ever been to. And it would be really hard for something else to top that. Put on a great performance nonetheless, but we had so much fun, family, friends. And it was, like I said, super exciting and one of the best probably days of my life. And I think his as well.
Yeah, I could say this as a diehard Mets fan. I was rooting avidly against Pete Alonso. I promise you that.
We had a lot of people behind us that came in like big Shohei fans or big Matt Olson fans. And when they left, they were big Trey fans. So credit to people who were sitting behind us because I swear they were yelling for Trey louder than me. And I thought that was impossible.
That's great.
Did he talk about like how tired he was after? Because Soto and all these guys just look exhausted the farther that they went into it.
We had a feeling he was going to go first, having not played in the 2020 season. So no surprise there. Yes, I got a text after the first round. I have the chills thinking about it. It was so funny. I'm looking at my phone. Service is kind of crappy, for lack of a better term. There's a billion people. And I got a text and he was like, "Hey, babe, I am gassed." And I was like, well, you got a lot of time because, in between the first and second round, between Soto and Shohei, he had so much time to get ready for the next round. But yes, he said he was so tired, but a lot of people say they're really sore after, but he woke up the next day feeling pretty good. And so no issues there. And I know it's kind of helped a lot of people's swings, joking around. So he was tired, but not Not the day after, which a lot of people weren't. It's just in between rounds, he was like gassed.
Right. No, I mean, I can't even imagine how it felt for you, for him. I mean, even me, as I was watching it, like, I think back to last January of 2020, the NBC Sports Washington Winter Party. You were there, Trey was there, I was there, PJ was there. We were all like drinking, having a good time. And it's like 2 months later, things shut down. Shortly after that, like everything that happened with Trey, and then to be there watching it, then 16 months later, COVID, cancer, everything at that moment, it was just awesome to watch. So
thank you. Yeah, I was
everywhere rooting for him.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was incredible. Truly incredible.
All right. Now, just like we said, we got to get you out of here. We know you're busy. We thank you for taking the time. The rapid fire segment and the trivia question. So number one of the Swift 7, one NFL team you're fading in the futures markets and one that you absolutely love.
Let me think. I think it's going to be tough not to fade the Bengals. I think it's going to be a team I'm going to have to fade, maybe along with the Colts for the first 5 weeks of the season. Quarterback injury, tough schedule. 2 teams that I think I'm going to have to fade. A team that I'm really high on, well, there's 2, and we're close to both, one of them in same division. It's going to be the Browns and the Ravens. I think those 2 teams are going to have awesome seasons, and I'll be curious to see who takes the division and how they do in the playoffs.
All right. Number 2, what's your favorite sport to bet?
Football.
NFL or college?
Oh.
NFL.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. Number 3, the number 1 item on your sports bucket list would be what?
I want to go to a Premier League soccer game.
All right. That's a good one. Number 4, favorite sports movie?
Bend It Like Beckham.
Number 5.
I played soccer in college, in case you guys didn't know. So
yeah, it's going to take PJ right into this next question.
Yes.
Yeah, you're soccer Sarah. We know.
Yes.
Number 5, who's your favorite women's national team soccer player? U.S. women's national team.
Current?
Yes.
I'll have to go with Rapinoe. I think she's made a really big impact on the country. Good leader to have, finishing out her career.
Number 6, which basketball player do you think is a bigger deal in their country? Giannis in Greece or Luka in Slovenia?
That is so good. I think I'll have to go off recency bias and say Giannis, only because he just won the NBA championship and he's incredible. I mean, I love them both, but Giannis, I'll say.
And then number 7, you bet golf. I know you were out in Lake Tahoe recently. If you could play a round with any celebrity, who would it be? Could be an athlete.
You can't say Trey. That's too easy.
Actress.
No, Trey and I both don't play golf. And I just recently got into betting golf and covering golf for NBC and Golf Channel. And it's something, Trey and I play a lot of tennis, true story. So we're trying to get into golf, but Trey's better lefty, because if not, it kind of ruins his baseball swing if he golfs righty. So, we're both going to take lessons. That being said, when we were in Tahoe, Charles Barkley was there, and I heard he's not that great at golf. So I think that'd be fun. We could talk betting, NBA, and if he's not that great, I won't feel a lot of pressure to be good.
Charles would be a good time. What about tennis? If you could play with somebody, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
I don't know if he plays tennis. I just read his book and I love him. And Trey and I talk a lot about him. I don't know why. We love his movies and, like I said, his book. So I think it'd be Matthew McConaughey.
Well, and if you're a soccer Sarah and you love Matthew McConaughey, then Austin FC is your new team in MLS, I suppose.
I guess I'm going to have to.
Sarah, before we let you go, we do a trivia question with everybody.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And we know that you went to the University of Florida. Football season's obviously coming up. So 90 seconds, you have 3 strikes. Your question is, since Steve Spurrier, the University of Florida has had 5 full-time head coaches. And Spurrier's last season was 2001. So since then to currently, can you name the 5 football head coaches for the University of Florida?
Okay. Dan Mullen.
Dan Mullen, that is correct. The current coach.
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer, correct.
Okay, I'm blanking on his name that went to South Carolina after. Hold on. I was there when he was there. What the heck? How many seconds do I have?
You still got like 65. You got plenty of time.
Will Muschamp.
There you go. Will Muschamp. So
okay, 2 more.
2 more.
2 more. What year am I missing here?
So you're missing the guy before Urban, and then you're missing the guy who was right before Dan Mullen and after Will Muschamp from 2015 to 2017.
Charlie Strong?
Not Charlie Strong. He was the interim coach, I believe.
He was
took
interim
over
head coach,
after
you're
Will
right.
Muschamp got fired.
I don't know.
30 seconds left.
Ron Zook? Who was there?
Ron Zook.
Ron
Yes, that's
Zook.
the one.
Ron Zook. Okay. How many more do I have?
You just need one more. You got 20 seconds left. Zook was right before Urban Meyer. So you need the one 2015 to 2017. I believe he's still coaching at Central Michigan right now.
Gary Darnell? No.
Not Gary Darnell. Nope.
Who is that?
Jim McElwain.
Jim McElwain.
Oh my gosh, duh, Jim McElwain. I was even there for part of his season.
Jim McElwain. Ron Zook was a hell of a pull.
That's a great pull. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I couldn't get Jim McElwain. Oops, who was there when I was there. So whatever.
You know what? I tell you,
Dang
getting Ron Zook makes up for that. I completely forgot he coached there, and I worked with him at Maryland for 2 years, so I completely forgot he was the head coach. So
That's really cool. Okay, well, Miss Jim McElwain, good deal. Yeah, he is still coaching. You're right. Okay, all right, not too bad. Could have been worse.
Which team does Florida hate more? Georgia, Florida State, or Tennessee?
Ooh, that's really tough. I think it would depend who you ask. It used to be Tennessee, but they haven't been that good. But
Yeah.
when they're in town, it used to be crazy. I would say, me personally, the Florida State game is always, a huge rivalry, especially since most houses are split. But that's tough because Georgia too. I don't know. I think we hate them all.
no, that's a
Yeah.
good point. I mean, it depends on who was good and when. Like
Like Georgia as of late, because they've been so good.
right.
But it used to be Florida State and Tennessee back in the day. But still, Florida State and Tennessee.
Have you and
Yeah.
Jenks been texting at all now that Texas is going to join the SEC?
Oh my gosh, no, I have to text him about that. He works crazy hours. I work the other. So it's tough, but I'm going to talk to Tim tonight at 11 p.m. on VSiN. So that'll be fun to hear him again too.
Well,
Nice.
send Tim our regards as well.
Yes.
He's joined us on this pod a couple of times, and I guess we might be due to have him back. Maybe that's a good sign here, a good omen that you're talking to him later. So
Yes, hit him up. I'll tell him he has to get back on.
It was great seeing you, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. Congrats on all the success, and I hope to do this again soon.
Yes, anytime. Thank you guys so much.
Once again, that was our good friend Sara Perlman, nice enough to join us. She's busy these days, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, NBC covering the Olympics, different sports going on. You heard her say she was going to be on with Tim Murray later tonight, so she's got a full day ahead of her. We talked about a lot of different things, but obviously the biggest story and the thing we were talking about with her the most was the MLB, the trade deadline, and obviously the moves that the Dodgers made and the Padres made, the Yankees made. It's the best MLB trade deadline I've seen
Absolutely.
probably in my entire life.
No doubt.
Usually you see deals get done on the final day of the trade deadline, which in this case was this past Friday. There were deals getting done on Wednesday, on Thursday, and not just kind of these player to be named later deals.
Right, big
it was
deals.
mega stars that were getting shipped. Javi Baez goes to the Mets, Rizzo and Gallo go to the Yankees, the Scherzer and Turner trade that just shook up baseball. That was one of those trades, Joe. I saw it pass and tweet it. I just happened to be on Twitter maybe 2-3 minutes after the fact. And it was just one of those, you drop your jaw and you see the blue check mark and you still don't believe it's real next to Passan's name. And you're like, I mean, the Scherzer I get, but the Turner too, into the Dodgers, how they continue to pull off getting all these stars, all these prospects that they have in their farm system. But as soon as they made that deal, I said to myself, they won't win the World Series because everybody's going to pick them. It just looks too obvious, too good, all the talent, all just the pieces and how
I said the same thing to myself with the Tampa Bay Lightning repeating, and I'm not saying it again for the Dodgers. There's no reason not to pick the Dodgers, and I'm going to pick the Dodgers. And if they don't win it, it's because of another really good team from the AL, whether it's the White Sox or the Red Sox or the Astros coming through. After what we saw last night at Dodger Stadium during this Dodgers-Astros series, I hope we get the bloodbath that would be a Dodgers-Astros series in the World Series. I think we deserve that. But yeah, after seeing the way the rest of the trade shook out, yes, they're the popular pick. No, I'm not shying away from it just because of the popular pick. I mean, just top to bottom, there is not a lineup that comes close, and the depth that they have as well. I tried telling myself that the whole NHL season, like, look, the Lightning, you know what? Yes, they're better, but there's a lot of other talented teams. They're the popular pick. They're going to run out of steam. I'm not saying that again. I just fell into that and the Lightning repeated. I'm not doing it again with the Dodgers. And the Dodgers don't have any steam to run out of because last year was a short 60-game season and not a longer season. So they're a lot more well-rested than the Lightning were, to use that
If you
comparison.
do like the Dodgers and everybody else that I'm sure does listening, I would recommend holding off on them because obviously after these trades, their odds aren't any good. And you got to be careful that San Francisco is not going away. And the Dodgers very well could play in that wild card game. And while they do have the most talented roster in baseball, they're likely going to get matched up against San Diego.
They're
And
gonna
a winner
win the
take
division.
all one
They're going to win the
game,
division.
they
I'm not
could,
worried.
but they
I'm not
also
worried.
couldn't. My question is, if they do get into that wild card game, who are you pitching? Who's your starting pitcher? Kershaw,
I'm probably
Buehler, or
starting.
Scherzer?
I'm probably starting Buehler.
I would
Probably
too.
starting Buehler.
I
Yeah.
would too.
And
And then
then
Kershaw will come in the eighth and blow it up.
yeah. And then it's all hands on deck from there. I mean, I probably knowing their mentalities, knowing Kershaw's history, I probably give the ball to Walker Buehler, give us 6, Max Scherzer, give us 3, and we're out of there. That's probably how I do it. Scherzer coming out of the
Scherzer's
bullpen is a very
history
scary
too in the
sight.
playoffs can be a little shaky at times.
A little
Bueller's
bit.
the really only guy that I would give the ball to. And be like,
Cold-blooded killer in the playoffs. Walker
he's
Buehler.
given me 6 scoreless,
Yeah.
maybe 1 run.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, look, that was the biggest shockwave was that one.
Oh, yeah.
I was on the Dodgers before that trade. I'm on the Dodgers after that trade, and that's not changing. But some of the other races that were tilted, I'm still saying the Yankees are not making the playoffs. But the moves they made it more interesting. I didn't think they were going to sell, but I didn't think they were going to be big buyers like that. To their credit, they gave up very little and somehow got the Rangers and Cubs to pick up the rest of the tab on Gallo and Rizzo. Don't know how that happened. But they put themselves in a better position by getting 2 lefty bats at Yankee Stadium. They're still 5 games back of the Red Sox for the wild card, 6 back of the Rays for the division, and they're 1 game ahead of the Blue Jays for that second potential wild card spot in their division. That is if they can eventually overtake the A's. So again, I'm focusing mainly, I combine mostly and mainly there. I'm focusing mostly on the AL East still and forgetting about the A's for now because the Yankees very well may not make the playoffs by virtue of simply not even being top 3 in their division, which that right there doesn't matter what the A's do if they can't get top 3 in their division. But then you open it up and they're 3 back of the A's in the win column and just 1 back in the loss column. So it's still a very uphill battle, but getting those 2 guys, I didn't expect them to make those big splashes, and they were able to pull it off. So credit to Brian Cashman for pulling something there. But then they still go out and lose 7-1 in the Orioles the other night, and it's like, all right, well, how much has actually changed for the Yankees? So
they, what's crazy about the AL East is honestly the team. If I were to get into the playoffs outside of Tampa Bay, the team that I wouldn't want to face is Toronto.
I would not want to face Toronto.
Now that they have Barrios too, and they can come at you with Barrios and Ryu, 1-2.
I was just going to get to that
and
Barrios
that young
trade.
lineup that they got. I mean, the poor Orioles in that AL East, the 4 teams that you got on top of you. I mean, they're not going away. The move that I absolutely love that flew under the radar was Tampa getting Nelson Cruz, just another great bat that Kevin Cash can plug and play. You keep him in the AL so he can DH for you. Look, ever since Tom Brady's gotten to the Bucs, all the Tampa teams have just made it to the championship, and there's no reason for me to think that the Rays just won't follow suit. The Glasnow injury, no doubt, is a huge, huge blow. But, with Tampa, with the hitting that they have, with how tough that they are to match up with the postseason, Cash being one of the better managers, all the different arms that they can throw at you. And it's just the fact that I look around the rest of the AL, and there's really not a team that scares me. Boston, again, with their pitching. Yes, they get Chris Sale back.
There are 2 teams that scare me in the AL if I would be the Rays.
Yeah. I mean, again, like the White Sox, I still feel like they're maybe a year away. Boston, I just don't know about their pitching. The Yankees, again, I think the Yankees just have this nostalgia around them that they're the Yankees. And yes, they have all these talented hitters now, and their pitching is remain to be seen. But I think they just still have too much wear and tear on their pitching, especially their bullpen. Toronto, I'm telling you, really outside of Tampa, Toronto, if they find a way to get in, that would be the team that would scare me the most.
It's fitting that you didn't mention them because nobody is, but the team with the second best record in baseball is the Houston Astros, and they didn't once come out of your mouth. So that's the team that is very scary and should be watched out for. and the White Sox as well. I think the White Sox, for all the crap that we have given them for the Tony La Russa hire and for what Tony La Russa has done, some of the antics and how he handled the Yermin Mercedes thing and how he sprinted out of the dugout to start a brawl last week against the Indians. I almost said Guardians. That's next year, but we're getting there. Starting to train myself.
Yeah, that's good.
And for all that, like, he's got this team at 63 and 44, and they got a lot of talent. So I think I'm still on the White Sox and Astros, but the Rays are probably right there for me. I could see the Red Sox fading. I disagree with Sarah there when she had mentioned it. Yes, they have a history. Yes, Alex Cora is a great manager, but let's not forget that they're punching way above the weight that we thought they'd be punching at this season. We had Scott Garceau on, and we were wondering who would be in the cellar, the Orioles or the Red Sox. And everything has gone right for the Red Sox, and they have themselves in a race for first place. And they're probably closer to the good version than the perceived bad version going into the season. But the reality is more probably somewhere in the middle, where I think their second half underwhelms compared to the first half. So the Red Sox, I'm not as high on them as Sarah is, or as high on them as some of the other teams in the AL. But again, the trades that we saw really shook up baseball. And the one thing we didn't mention for the Dodgers trade, I thought the Nats got nothing in return. That was a horrible trade for the Nats.
Yeah, the Turner
Brutal.
piece, I really,
Brutal.
I don't understand. I argue you could have probably gotten that haul for Scherzer. Maybe
That's what I was saying. When I saw that it was Josiah Gray and Kyber Ruiz, I'm like, that's a package for Scherzer.
Right.
Trey Turner is in his prime, one of the best shortstops in the game, and you got a pitcher in Gray who's 23. So, you wonder, like, has he missed the boat? Like, a lot of pitchers come up a little bit younger than that. And a great point was made this past week in Washington sports media. He's a fly ball pitcher, and that's scary in today's game. So is there a lot there? He was I think 42nd on MLB's top 100, and Ruiz was 43rd. So look at the 42 and 43 prospects in baseball for Max Scherzer, fine, but for Trey Turner, who's in his prime at shortstop, I didn't really like that at all. Not at all.
Didn't like it either.
I like it as a Mets fan. That's fine.
I'm sure you did. I agree with you about the Red Sox, though, and I think it was telling what they did at the deadline, that they kind of realized, like, hey, we're having this great year, very unexpected. We'll go out and get Schwarber, but we don't need to do anything crazy. There's no reason to give up our entire farm system.
Ride the wave. That's it.
Exactly. So, baseball will definitely be interesting. The AL and the NL West, too, will be fun down the stretch. Over to the NBA, we talked with Sarah. Obviously, DC to LA was a big theme last week. Westbrook going to the Wizards. I mean, same kind of thing with the Nats trade. The Wizards, look, job number one was to get rid of that Westbrook contract, and he didn't want to be here anymore. But, I mean, the haul for him, Kuzma before LeBron got there was a nice player with some potential, but really he's kind of faded off. Montrezl Harrell was a great six-man for the Clippers, but then last year he wasn't very good at all. KCP, I mean, he's a solid, like, three-point shooter, but he's nothing special. And then you got the first-round pick from the Lakers that turned out to be the first pick in the second round. But I think it was just mostly about dumping Westbrook's contract, seeing what you could get in return. Looks like they're going to get Spencer Whitty to team up with Beal in the backcourt. But this is the NBA these days. I mean, this is just a star wanting out, forcing his way to play with the super team, gets to go back home, and the Wizards made the best of the situation that they could. A lot like the Nationals now, the Wizards have to do whatever it takes to just keep Bradley Beal there. The Nats have to keep Soto there, do whatever it takes. You got to build around those two guys for those respective franchises and try to build around them. But as for the Lakers, how it will work out, I mean, honestly, I don't love it. I mean, Westbrook, he's an incredible player. He arguably had the greatest single season of any Wizards player in history. He was phenomenal. But again, the knock on him, and it's true, when you get to the playoffs and you can't shoot like Russ can, and unless you're Giannis with his size and you can affect the game in so many ways. I mean, somebody posted a great photo of when Houston played the Lakers in the playoffs back in Orlando during the pandemic. I mean, the Lakers weren't even guarding Russ behind the 3-point line, and now you're bringing this guy in to be your savior. LeBron is so good when he has guys that can space the floor around him. That's what makes his
and he can't shoot.
He can't shoot, and he can do everything else. He'll help you on the glass. He's obviously a great passer, and he probably is the toughest worker of anybody in the league. He goes 0 to 100 all the time. But you're looking for a guy to space the floor and another scorer with AD and LeBron, and come playoff time, I don't know if Russ is that answer.
The main point of this trade, after I thought about it for some time and talked about it with a couple of other people, I think it's to keep LeBron fresh. I think before he got hurt this year, they realized we're pushing this. He was playing more minutes than he's ever played, and he's the oldest he's ever been, obviously. That's how age works. So it didn't really compute. And what is Russell Westbrook? He's kind of a redundancy of LeBron. He's a guy that's going to bring the ball up, going to drive. He's going to create with the ball in his hands. What's he going to do off the ball? Not a lot. I mean, LeBron, to his credit, has improved as a shooter later in his career, where he can space the floor for Westbrook and be a spot-up shooter. He has developed that. Credit to LeBron. But that's what this trade was for me, is a way to keep LeBron fresher for the playoffs, because he looked gassed this year after the bubble and then starting on on a very quick turnaround and playing all the minutes he did. Westbrook comes in and he allows LeBron to take some more breaks during the games, not even necessarily go to the bench. Like, LeBron's minutes might be the same, but if you go through and think about how much work he's done in those minutes, this past year, he was doing what Westbrook will do. Now with Westbrook in the fold, yes, LeBron will probably still play the same minutes, but there's going to be a lot of possessions where he just goes over and stands to the side and kind of recuperates while Westbrook does his thing. So I thought in the end it was more to keep LeBron fresh for the playoffs, which they absolutely need. But then there's the question, what happens when you get to playoff time? And now all of a sudden, you kind of have those two guys who really, again, LeBron improved it, but he's still not known to be a shooter. Westbrook can't shoot at all. Davis, he can pull out and take the three. They add Carmelo Anthony. They add Kendrick Nunn. They've added a few really nice pieces there. It's starting to look like a 2013 All-Star team as it's going along.
Dwight Howard, yeah,
Dwight Howard, Marc Gasol. So it's a 2013 All-Star team there. But again, I think it was funny, right around the time that the trade happened, a few minutes before that, Woj and Shams mentioned that there was a trade in the works for Buddy Hield, and it was just going to be Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell for Hield. Then it turned into Kuz, Harrell, KCP, and a pick for Westbrook. I think they would have been better off with the first trade. I really think they would have been better off with Kuz and Harrell just for Hield, because he can shoot, and that's what they need around LeBron. But then again, when I step back and looked at it, it does achieve the task of taking some of the load off LeBron's shoulders. So it helps in the regular season. I don't know how it helps in the playoffs, though.
No, that's a great
point. Helping in the
point.
playoffs is just making LeBron be more energetic, which of course helps the team. I guess that helps, but doesn't really help in the fourth quarter of playoff games.
It's a great point. Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, I definitely think that they looked at it from a regular season play, and then they just hope that you have 3 Hall of Famers, and that's good enough to get you to the promised land.
Figure it out.
Only time will tell. Now, as we look at the Olympics, the U.S. women advanced to the gold medal game with their win early this morning. The U.S. men are playing Australia in the semis, but the Olympics have been great. I love the Summer Olympics. The swimming is my favorite. I love the track and field. Sarah talked about table tennis and how good that is. Handball's awesome. I was talking about this with my buddies too, and I want to get your thoughts. What Olympic sport do you think you would have the best chance at competing in?
If I devoted a couple of years specifically to one thing and tried to do that, God, I mean, it's like the conversation we always have. Like, if you had 100 at bats against a major league pitcher, can you get one hit? We will always say yes because we think we can, but the answer is you'll go 0 for 100. I genuinely don't think any of us could have any success at any Olympic sport because these people have devoted their whole lives to it. But if for 3 years I was devoted to just one thing and one thing only, it would probably have to be one of the shooting things, whether it's what they do with the pistol or with like archery. Like, I feel like 3 years spent on that, you could like it's feasible to work on the accuracy. And like obviously there's physical aspects of it, but of all of the Olympic sports, it's the least where you need to be physically gifted, if that makes sense. Like, it's just a matter of how well can you shoot this? How's your aim? And I think with plenty of practice, you can be halfway decent at it. Probably not still, but halfway decent. But like, I'm not going to sit here and say, a high jump or something. I'm not like,
No.
there's
Nothing in track
involves,
and field.
nothing
said
that involves
handball.
athleticism.
That was
Even
mine.
handball involves some athleticism, and like it's you got to learn the sport, the intricacies of it. It takes some athleticism. Anything that involves athleticism, I'm out. There's no shot.
I still stick by handball because, you can like dribble the ball and you can carry the ball and then, you can shoot it from long range. I don't know. It's like the most least contact. And while it does involve athleticism, it's not something crazy like a track and field or a swimming that you would just have to work at your whole
and
life.
I think the answer is easy for the Winter Olympics. The Winter Olympics, it's absolutely curling. Definitely curling. But the Summer Olympics is a lot tougher. It's a lot tougher.
For sure. No, the Summer Olympics have been great, though. The Ledecky-Titmus rivalry has been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a shame. Everybody's knocking Katie, but she's just not a sprinter. I mean, she's a long distance. She's trying to work at the 200 and 400, but she's just not a sprinter. But Titmus is the real deal. Those have been great. Sarah mentioned Caleb Dressel. Dude won 5 gold medals.
He's in a category with Phelps,
Spitz, and Phelps.
And there was one more.
Yeah.
I think there was it was 4 of them, but I can't remember who the 4th guy was.
He's a freak, and it's good stuff. What's great is that a lot of these people will be back because now the turnaround from Tokyo to Paris is only 3 years, which is kind of cool. So that's the Olympics.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that has caught my eye as far as the storylines, but like it's been so difficult to watch. I don't know what's on Peacock. I don't know what's on USA, what's on CNBC,
they're putting the
NBC.
most interesting things on Peacock, and the tennis too has been a big story. Osaka got bounced early. Djokovic didn't even medal, so there have been some upsets there.
Xander Schauffele got gold for golf.
He was trying to choke it away in typical Schauffele fashion, but he managed to hang on. That was pretty cool, though. In the golf, they had a 7-man playoff to determine the bronze medal because obviously you can't have a tie. You have to see who wins. So that was pretty cool. Rory Sabatini, who's nearly 50 years old, shot a 61 on Sunday to win the silver. So that was pretty cool. But I was thinking, I'm watching Slovenia and Luka and how he just might carry Slovenia to a gold medal. And I'm thinking, like, who's the bigger deal right now in their countries? Is it Giannis in Greece or is it Luka in Slovenia? It's tough. I would agree with Sarah. I think it's Giannis slightly, but man, Luka is he's big time.
I go with Giannis just because it spans 2 countries. We always talk about Greece, but we forget about the Nigerian aspect of it with his heritage. So it's Nigeria and it's Greece for him, where he's just a massive, massive star. And to win the title, you see, like, there's times where he'll be on the road in Toronto, where I believe there's a big Greek population, and other places where there are just hundreds and thousands of Greek fans who are there to just see him in the road cities he goes to. So I go with him. But I mean, of course, like I'm not very well versed in Slovenian culture. So like, I don't know what it's like right now in Slovenia when they watch Luka play. Are they gathering in like town squares? I'm sure they are. I just don't know. We don't see it, but we saw it with Giannis because of the NBA finals. So he's the easy answer for that, just because we know it's a known commodity.
All right, now moving on to the SEC. And again, Sarah went to the University of Florida. We were talking about it with her at the end. Texas and Oklahoma is now official. They're going to join the conference in 2025 at the latest. They're actually trying to move that up to see if they can join as early as next year. But this has obviously opened the conversation, and now the rumors are starting to swirl.
And it happens so fast.
Kansas on their way to the Big Ten. Florida State and Clemson reached out about joining the SEC. Joe, I think we're on our way to super conferences, my friend.
I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I love it. It's
I kind of do too. I feel bad for the Big 12 because, I mean, if Kansas leaves, like, what's your draw in football or basketball?
Done. The Big 12 is going to be dismantled. This happened so quick. I mean, last episode 2 weeks ago, we had it as a hypothetical, like, hey, there's rumblings about this. Let's see. A day later, when we released by the time we pressed tweet on the episode, it was already official. So it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
Kansas probably goes to the Big Ten. Baylor is probably a Pac-12 team. Iowa State's probably a Big Ten team. TCU and a lot of those schools will join the American. So the American probably gets elevated to Power 5 status, with all they'll be able to catch from the Big 12 as the Big 12 dissipates. It's huge. I mean, these were the two teams that were absolutely the linchpins keeping the Big 12 in existence, as teams have left the Big 12 year after year, and they're gone. So there's no more backbone, no more spine in the Big 12. It's gone, and it's going to fall apart very quickly. I'm very curious to see who ends up where. As far as the Super Conference thing, if we're going to a 12-team playoff, if we are, which of course seems to be the path we're headed down, I don't mind it, because we think about how in the 4-team you need one loss, maybe you get in with 2. So to be quite honest, you need some cupcakes on the schedule. You can't play the top teams week in, week out, because you're going to get to 3 losses and you're going to be out of it. Alabama needs to play Vanderbilt, and Alabama needs to play, Citadel, right? Whoever they schedule,
Right.
or Jacksonville State, like at random parts of the year. Like, they need that. All schools do, because, think about Clemson playing basically all of the ACC, because the ACC is not strong at all. And you need that. But if you go to a super conference at the same time that you're going to a 12-team playoff, now, because there's 12 teams, there's more leniency. You could get in with 3 losses, with 4 losses. You could prove yourself against the best opponents. We're seeing the best football week in, week out, and everybody wins. The Big 12 doesn't win because the Big 12's gone, but everybody else wins. So I'm not complaining. I don't think Clemson and Florida State make the jump.
I agree.
I was reading an article, and at the end of the day, there's just not enough money in Clemson or Florida State as far as their TV deals and stuff. The one team that I did see as part of that same article was that Notre Dame is the last team that really intrigues the SEC as far as moving the needle, but I still can't see Notre Dame ever joining a conference. So the SEC probably is what it is once they take those 2 teams, Texas and Oklahoma, and then let the rest of the pieces fall where they may. I mean, Texas Tech, a team like that, a team like Kansas State, you probably see them in the American. Baylor strikes me as a Pac-12 team the way it seems. Who else? I mean, Kansas is a home run in the Big Ten with basketball. Iowa State, you get the natural rivalry with Iowa going back to the Big Ten. So there's a few natural fits there.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm interested too. Do they just dissipate the Big 12 and just have it join the AAC, or does the AAC come to join the Big 12 just because of the name of the Big 12?
That's a fair point too. I didn't think about it that way. Big 12 is more brand recognition, so that could absolutely happen.
But yeah, man, I mean, Kansas goes to the Big 10 and the poor Big 12. I mean, they already really have nothing left, because Kansas football almost outweighs Kansas basketball.
Kansas football might as well be a D3 school.
Right. Not good. But hey, Kansas basketball in the Big 10, I mean, it's only gonna add to it. That'll be pretty good. All right, Joe, before we get to trivia, we've been doing this up until the football season. Because we missed last week, we're going to give 2 NFL future bets that we like for the upcoming season. So give me your first one that you like.
My first one, and it goes hand in hand with the really only one big bit of news, I guess, from the NFL this week as training camps have begun, with Carson Wentz hurt, with Quentin Nelson hurt with the same foot injury. How freaky is that?
Yeah.
My first pick is Titans minus 130 to win the AFC South. The Texans are horrible. The Colts, who knows what they're going to be with those guys out, and who knows how long they'll be out for. Foot injuries are always kind of weird, where guys don't always come back as quickly as you hope. And then the Jaguars are the Jaguars. So still only at minus 130. I think Vegas is kind of holding out hope that whether it's an acquisition at quarterback or whether it's just a speedy recovery for Carson Wentz, that the Colts can kind of have a good late season kick. But they have such an early tough schedule that without Carson Wentz, they might be 1-5, 1-6 sort of thing early on. So they're really well constructed overall. It's just a question of what can Jacoby Brissett do, especially without Quentin Nelson. So minus 130 for Tennessee. I'll take that.
My first one is going to be the Dallas Cowboys plus 145 to miss the playoffs. I think Dallas is the fourth best team in the NFC East. I'd take Washington over them. I'd take the Giants over them, and I'd take Philly over them too.
I
Now,
wouldn't take Philly or the Giants.
I
But
don't think they're more talented than those teams, but I think they're going to finish last in the NFC East. I'm not high on Dallas at all. I love Dak, and it seems like he'll be good to start the year. I love their offense, but defensively, too many questions. And I've never been high on Mike McCarthy. Like, you had Aaron Rodgers your whole career, and that's not to say he wasn't a good coach or he wasn't a good offensive mind, but I don't know. I really like Washington this year. Philly, to me, is going to be the surprise team in the NFL. Jalen Hurts has a lot of upside to him, and I like that they brought in Devontae Smith to help him with that receiving core. They needed a change of scenery with the new head coach. They were just giving up on their coach that escapes my name, who I can see his face, but I can't.
Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson. There you go. They bring in Nick Sirianni. So I think Dallas is going to miss the playoffs. I actually think they might finish last in the NFC
That's
East as well.
interesting.
Yeah.
I could see missing the playoffs because, again, wild card, there's going to be other teams that are just much better than the Cowboys are. They're going to have to win the division to get in, probably. So I could see missing the playoffs. Last in the division, I'm not sure. I think the Giants are way worse than people still think they are. I think the Eagles are going to take some time. So I can see Dallas just on the offensive talent alone doing enough to finish second in the division. And Dan Quinn, don't undersell the addition of Dan Quinn defensively. He can take a pile of scrap defensively and turn it into a top 10 defense. So that will help them considerably, but not enough to thwart my second pick of the day, which is the Washington football team to do something that has not happened since 2001 to 2004 when the Eagles four-peated, and that is repeat as NFC East Division champions at plus 270. The defense is just absolutely absurd. I don't know how anybody's going to score points on them. They have weapons now for Ryan Fitzpatrick. You're going to take the good and the bad with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and you're just going to have to hope there's more good than bad, like that play he made last year against the Raiders for the Dolphins in relief of Tua, where the helmet was sideways and he threw a 40-yard bomb and they won the game. You're going to have to take more of the good than the bad, but there's going to be some bad. But in this division, which is also very bad, I think 9-7 probably wins it, or I guess 10-7. I meant to say, I still got to get the new schedule math down. So 10-7 or something like that probably wins in the division. Maybe even 9-8 if it's again a down year, like we think it could be in the NFC East. They're the strongest team all around, and I don't think it's too crazy to say with that defense, they're like legit contenders. Maybe not to win the Super Bowl, but like to win a division and win a playoff game. Like, I don't think that would surprise me at all. So plus 270 in a very weak division, I'll take them.
My second one, Jared Goff under 4,500 passing yards. Got to get the hook there. Look, Goff in 5 years under McVay, he threw for over 4,000 yards just twice. And you had one of the best offensive minds with you. You had a great receiving core, good running backs, good O-line. Now you go to Detroit, where Dan Campbell's a defensive coach. It's going to be much more conservative ball control. The Lions, they're trying to build a culture there. They're trying to build a defensive identity. They want to be physical. And you're just not going to see Goff be unleashed like Stafford was for all those years. And Goff stinks. I mean, McVay got the most out of him that he possibly could. And now he's going to Detroit. They're going to be one of the worst teams in football. And I like it at under 4,000 passing yards. I think it's pretty.
And they're going to be a run-first team as well. I mean, with DeAndre Swift and the couple of other backs they have in there, Jamal Williams, like they're very much a run-first team with that defensive identity. So that's not a bad pick at all. I saw the story today about Campbell. They asked him like how he prepares for every day. The guy drinks 2 40-ounce coffees and puts 2 extra espresso shots in each. That is 80 ounces of coffee and 4 espresso shots. So I guess it should not actually be a surprise that he is as insane as he is.
Yeah, he's
it makes sense now. It absolutely makes sense now. Whether he was dropped on his head as a kid, whether he continued to hit his head into his adolescence, or now with all the coffee, He is absolutely insane. But hey, you know what? He's a football guy, and that sometimes helps you out. So we'll see how that goes. We'll
That's
see
true.
how that goes.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat they got over there in Detroit.
I like what you did there. Interesting cat, Lions.
You like that? You like that? You're catching on. It only took you 56 episodes, but you're starting to pick up on me. All right, Joe. Trivia time now. You're up by 22 to 21.
You were briefly tied for like 30 seconds last time.
Yeah.
Last episode.
That's true. We each got our trivia question.
I'll give you the pleasure of maybe being briefly tied again. Maybe. So I'll let you answer your question first.
Looking forward to it.
Fantasy football drafts and season around the corner.
Yep.
In ESPN standard scoring, testing your knowledge from last year. Quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, defense, kicker. 6 positions. I want you to give me the top scorer in ESPN standard scoring at each of those positions last year.
All right. Tight end's gonna be Kelsey.
Easy one. Yep.
Wide receiver, I'm gonna go Devontae.
Correct.
Running back, I'm gonna go Derek.
No, strike one. He was third.
Okay. Quarterback, gonna go Josh Allen.
Say that again. You broke up for 1 second.
I'm gonna go Josh Allen for quarterback.
Josh Allen is correct. So
okay.
You need the running back, the defense, and the kicker. You have 2 strikes, and you have a minute still.
The kicker. It wasn't Tucker. I know Atlanta's guy was up there. I don't know who. Defense. I mean, Washington was good. Pittsburgh was good. Tampa was good. Oof. For kickers, I'm gonna go with Atlanta's guy, Young Who.
He was very, very slightly in second place.
Oh, all right. I'm not gonna get the
2
kicker.
strikes.
Circle
back to the running back if you want, at least to get that one out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, was it Kamara?
It was Kamara. You got 20 seconds left, one strike to work with, and the defense and the kicker. Let's see if you can pull either. If you can pull either, I'll give it to you, because this is tough.
All right.
10 seconds. The defense or the kicker.
Pittsburgh was just lethal early on.
All right, there's the buzzer. If you can pull the kicker or the defense. It was not Tucker.
No.
If you would have pulled one of the two, I would have given it to you. Kicker or defense. The defense was the Rams, so it was actually a team you didn't mention at all.
Oh, yeah.
The defense was the Rams. The kicker was Miami's Jason Sanders.
Oh.
Him and Younghoe Koo the whole season were flip-flopping back and forth. Koo missed 2 games, I want to say, last year, maybe 3. And that's the only reason he didn't finish number 1. Otherwise, he was absolutely number 1 at kicker. But
yeah, the Rams, I should have gotten. I didn't think about them, but yeah, Sanders, I would have gotten. Good one. All right, mine for you. Going a little outside the box here. We're going USA men's basketball.
Oh,
can you tell me the top 5 all-time leading scorers in USA men's history in the Olympics?
Okay, in the Olympics specifically. Yeah. Kevin Durant.
Correct. He's number 1.
Carmelo Anthony.
He's number 2.
Right. Ooh. All right. LeBron James is at 3 Olympics, so LeBron?
LeBron is number 3.
Okay. I think Kobe was also 3 Olympics, so Kobe.
Kobe is strike 1. He was not in the top 5.
Okay. Trying to think who's been to the most Olympics. And even when there, you still got to score. I don't remember Shaq doing an Olympics.
50 seconds left. 2 strikes to work with.
Not Kobe. Who else has been an Olympic scorer? MJ just had the 1. Ooh,
45.
This is tough. Tougher than I thought it was going to be.
30 seconds.
Dwayne Wade?
Dwayne Wade is incorrect. He was in the top 10. I believe he was number 8.
Okay. All right.
20 seconds left.
Gosh. Yeah, see, I don't like the Dream Team guys. Like, I don't. know if any of them played again after that, because we all talk about the dream team, but like then it just
10
kind of
seconds.
nobody cares after that. Tim Duncan, I don't know.
All right, not Duncan. Michael Jordan did make the list. He was
He
fifth,
did.
256 points.
Did he play
And
two
then-
Olympics, or was that just all in one Olympics?
That I do not know.
It's probably all in the one. I don't think he played again.
If so, that's quite impressive.
Yeah.
And number 4 was David Robinson.
David Robinson. All right, you know what? Right team, wrong legendary big man.
There you go. Yeah. Barkley was 6th, if I can remember. I think Bird was 7, Wade 8. I don't think Kobe was even top 10, which I was pretty surprised by.
Interesting. Well, good question.
Yeah,
So we stay where we are. You didn't get your brief tie. I don't get up to a two question lead. So
well done. Thanks again to Sara for joining us here on episode 56. It was great seeing her again. Great to get her insight. I love the Mancini story with how gassed he was, because Joe, those dudes, the baseball players are some of the most athletic athletes, obviously, but it's just crazy when you put them in that format where they just have to swing for the fences, how tired.
it makes sense. Like, think about it. You go play 18 holes. You're probably not going to have any blisters on your hands. Probably. You go to the driving range, you hit 100 balls, you tear your hands up. It's just you're not meant to do that many swings in that rapid succession.
Yeah.
And same thing for the home run derby. Like, that's just
Good
how
point.
it goes. But speaking of gas, you made it. You made it through your Colorado trip. I heard the hike almost killed you.
Almost killed me, Joe. Never again. Colorado, it's a beautiful, beautiful state. A lot of people like living there. I would not be one of them. Just couldn't do it. That elevation is no joke. I don't even ski. I don't snowboard. I just enjoy my hikes here in Maryland. I don't need all that 14,000 feet crap where I'm nearly dying. No, thank you. But really nice day. Have you ever been out there?
I have not, but I do want to get out there, and I'll mentally take the note not to hike the way you did and the way Davey, a former guest on this show, did.
If you do, and anybody out there, make sure you stay in Denver a couple of days, get used to the altitude, and then go out to the mountains. We went out to the mountains the day after we got in, and we all made it to the top, but it was not easy.
How was it coming down?
Coming down was actually fine.
Easy?
You have to take some breaks here and then, but obviously going down, all that altitude and elevation helps you out a little bit. So it's pretty nice. Best breakfast place in the entire country is in Denver, Colorado. It's called Snooze. If you ever get a chance to go, their French toast is it's absurd.
French toast with altitude. There you go.
Unbelievably good. So yeah.
All right, we'll have to take those mental notes for a future Colorado trip. But for episode 56, our guest Sara Perlman. Let's get that right. And PJ Glasser. I'm Joe Malfa. Thanks for tuning in to episode 56, and we'll be back in the next week.